Hello YouTube, this is the Bucket coming at you today with my Smith and Wesson Centennial. This is a pre-model 40. The Centennials came out in 1952, and that was 5 years before the model number system. So let's talk about the history of this. We'll talk about the specs of it. We'll talk to you about what's unique about mine, and we'll talk about how it performed at the range and where this fits in today's world. So in 1927, Colt came out with the Detective Special, and this was a specialized gun on a specialized frame that would have a snub-nose barrel that was designed, hence the name, for plainclothes police carry. And Colt was known for very, very high quality finishing, a very good high quality trigger, and known for being very, very accurate. Smith and Wesson had the Model 10, or it was called the M&P at the time, which was a full-frame revolver, and they had some 2-inch options, and they tried to compete with that. In 1950, they realized that they needed to come up with something a little lighter, a little bit smaller, and came out with the Chief Special, which was really designed to compete with a Colt Detective Special. It was a 5-shot revolver opposed to Colt's 6-shot revolver, and it was a little bit smaller in most of the dimensions. What made theirs really special is they came out with the all-steel and an aluminum framed. In 1952, it was the 100-year anniversary of Smith and Wesson, and they wanted to release something new and unique, and they came up with the Centennial. So it was on the J frame, but it was a true double-action, no-hammer version of the gun, and it came with a grip safety. It would come in steel or aluminum. Mine right here is an all-steel version. They came with 2 finishes at that early time period, the regular blued or the nickel finish. Now mine has been re-blued, and you can tell first and foremost because of the nickeled trigger. Smith and Wesson had an all-steel non-nickeled trigger on the nickeled versions. You can also see, I'll try to get a better picture of it, but when they buffed it to refinish this, it really just muddles up the engravings that were originally on it. Now, that really hurts the collector value of a gun like this, but it's still a really high-quality Smith & Wesson revolver, and I figured if I could get it at the right price, I'd love to bring it to the channel. So, the specs of this gun, it is a 5-shot revolver. It shoots 38 special. I'm going to go over the specs of my gun, not an air weight or a aluminum frame. So the overall length of this is 6.31 inches. The barrel length is 1.875 inches. The width comes in at 1.3 inches. The overall height is 4.5 inches, and the weight unloaded is 21 ounces. When I compared it to my Colt Detective Special, the weights were the same. They were both exactly 21 ounces. The width, this was 1.3, this was 1.41, so it's a little bit higher than 1/10 of an inch larger. Now, a Colt Detective Special, its barrel is going to be an actual 2-inch barrel, where this is 1.875, and the height and the length is a little bit shorter on the J-frame revolver. Really, Smith & Wesson was going to try to compete by just making the guns a little bit smaller, and the big key for them was to make it a little less expensive. So when I did a little research, I found out that these ran for about $30 cheaper than a Colt Detective Special in 1975. I found an inflation calculator, and that comes out to be about $178 difference, $175 difference in today's dollars. So that's a major, major thing. So that's really where they decided that they were going to compete with Colt that had kind of been beating them up on that police market for a lot of years. Mine's kind of unique in the fact that it's a 3-digit. So I went ahead and I contacted Smith & Wesson, found that this was released in May of 1953. So this is one of the first 600 guns, and it still didn't get out until 1953. So while they released it in 1952, I think most of the Centennials actually hit the market in 1953. If you want to go ahead and check to see if yours is numbers matching, you'll want to make sure that the frame, the cylinder, the barrel all match. Now you'll see that on the frame and on the yoke, there will be two different numbers that will not match your gun. Those are just assembly numbers. You can also check the grips. Underneath the right grip, there'll be a serial number there as well. I'm not going to take it off on camera, but I'll put a picture of it. It's kind of hard to read because these grips are 72 years old. So through all of the years of expanding and contracting, those serial number was a little bit hard to pick up on. I was really excited to get to bring this to you because it's just a really, really neat piece of history. Now, as far as shooting, as far as the trigger goes, it is a double action only trigger. Now, the Detective Special has a leaf spring. This has a coil spring. It is a heavy, probably a 12-pound trigger. And it does lock up really still tight on my particular gun, which makes me really happy. And if you learn kind of how to stage it, you can really figure it out. You'll find that it locks right there, and then there's a little bit of squish, and then it breaks. It's not a bad trigger at all. You know, this grip is maybe not ideal for, you know, shooting purposes, but for concealing, you know, these were kind of famous to go into an ankle holster. It's really designed to be a minimalist revolver that is going to take care of you at short distances. So it really is a well put together, good firearm. As far as shooting this gun, it is a small gun, but that all steel construction does make it pretty nice. I will find that it was really easy to engage that safety. I didn't have any problem with that whatsoever. I'll tell you that the point of aim, point of impact on this old gun was a little low. So once I adjusted for where that point of aim, point of impact was, I could really get some pretty decent accuracy. So this is a snub nose revolver, and this is the accuracy that I got with the gun. That's at 10 yards, and that's, you know, probably a 3 1/4 inch group. That's not too bad, especially considering the Bucket's not known for his good double action shooting. So these were definitely constructed to be good runners for the lifetime of the pistol, and it was just a lot of fun. So if you have an opportunity to pick one of these up and you're wanting to get good at shooting a double action revolver, this could be good. I definitely can see why people carried these for personal protection, why detectives liked these so much, because 38 Special is nothing to stick your nose up at, and it's definitely something that you can get really good at. So it's cool to get to bring a cool piece of history, a 3-digit, really first year of release of these guns, to get to bring it to the channel. I found a guy at the Smith and Wesson Historical Society that really loves these 3 digits. I think we're going to try to work out a trade, and I might be able to bring a little baby Chief to the channel, and maybe that one will just have to stay in the collection. So I want to thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. All the likes, the comments, the shares are really appreciated. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube.
Little middle baby Bucket, do you want to live in California?
No!
Why?
Because I'm not a communist.